Hello, my name is Marcus Myers, and I'm the principal at Meridian Elementary, and this is my presentation about leading learners. Now, being an educational leader as opposed to a business leader has its own separate set of challenges and successes. What I've done for this presentation and during the duration of the class is to make that connection between effective leadership in whatever capacity, whether that's educational leadership or otherwise. And like I said, I'm the principal at Meridian Elementary. I've been there for 9 years. And throughout that time, we've done some work in identifying WIGs, lags, and leads. However, this is really going to define that and really tailor it down. If you're wondering if that's an actual picture of me, it is. That's me right there in the middle, and that's me sitting around my leadership team. It's a really great team of leaders there based at the school who make a tremendous amount of leadership decisions and lead grade level and department teams. So a little bit about our current reality. Meridian Elementary is a Title I school in downtown Meridian near City Hall. It presents some demographic challenges with the population of students that we serve. They're kind, respectful, high-achieving learners, and the culture at Meridian Elementary is to really value the idea of learning above all else. In the idea of really tailoring down our goals to one important WIG, we took a look at our current reality and one grade level. And the reason we chose fourth grade was because achievement results in this grade level historically are significantly lower than the other grade levels. In English Language Arts, 48% of our students tested proficient on the 2019 ISAT test. The ISAT test is the computer-based standardized assessments that all students in Idaho take at the end of the year. 48% proficient was 22% less than our target goal of that 70%. And you may be asking right now, well, what about the other subjects like math, social studies, and science? And absolutely certain those are important. But remember, McChesney, Covey, and Hewling say that in Discipline 1, focusing on the wildly important requires you to go beyond those basic wirings as a leader and focus on less so that your team can achieve more. And it seems very applicable to that in education because things like math, science, and social studies are unbelievably important. But when we identify our WIGs, we take that piece that is most important above all else. Reading is unbelievably important and is tied to every other subject. And failure in that area makes everything else seem secondary. So our wildly important goal, that fourth grade students at Meridian Elementary will go from that 48% proficiency to 70% in English Language Arts by the 2020 ISAT Standards Achievement Test. So that's that test next year right about at this same time. If you're wondering about English Language Arts, that encompasses reading, speaking, visualizing texts, and also presenting information to peers. And remember that when we narrow that focus of our team to just one or two wildly important goals, that makes it top priority. And we move from something that's loosely defined where we're trying to identify what's important of all those subject areas to really a small set of very focused targets in fourth grade. And that's a picture of that leadership team really taking a look at fourth grade. And you can see in the background there are some of the ways that we focus on that goal. Lag measures are those pieces that have already happened, and that's true in education leadership as well. Things like monthly ISAT practice tests that we're allowed to take, we take those about once a month, but that data is old data even after the students are taking it. And it changes instruction, but it doesn't necessarily change what we do on a daily basis. Things like fourth grade common assessments, those you might think of are like tests at the end of a chapter or tests at the end of the unit. And although they are important to planning the next piece, it doesn't necessarily change instruction in getting us to where we need to be. Again, another lag measure, something that's already happened. Things like monthly fourth grade vocabulary notebooks, taking a look at the data of how vocabulary increases English Language Arts achievement is unbelievably important. And research-wise, vocabulary is at the top of that list. However, the assessments behind vocabulary, if students have taken it, it's something that still tells us what they're doing at the end of a unit rather than what we need to be doing in instruction throughout. But nonetheless, lags are still important, especially in the field of education. We call this progress monitoring, and basically it means that throughout a student's progress in learning a standard and a skill, we're monitoring to make sure that they're making progress. However, the data, no matter when they take it, is always after the fact and after instruction is always incurred. It does drive instruction, on a weekly basis, but it doesn't necessarily change it on a daily basis. And at Meridian Elementary, we take advantage of every single moment of every day. So then we focus on those lead majors, those things that we can control, those things that have the highest effect, the highest impact on our system and student achievement, and consistently produce those significant results. Our first leading indicator, that during weekly collaboration, the principal, instructional coach, and our fourth grade teachers will meet and discuss 20 minutes of our learning progressions, how we're going to gauge that understanding, and how it directly ties to ISAT. So these are those weekly meetings where we sit down and really plan the week out. Now, there are some educational buzz terms in there, but really what it means is that we're planning out every single moment of a student's instructional day. We waste no time. And the big piece is that we ensure how we're assessing students is also the way that we're assessing students at the end, and that we're focused on those standards and skills that's going to allow them to be successful on that ISAT test. The other important piece is that those assessment results are reflected on our scorecard within 24 hours, and that is a demonstration picture of one of those scorecards. Our second leading indicator is that as a fourth grade team, we're going to identify what's most important. Learning progressions, guaranteed vocabulary terms, and then turn that into a written language product that each student will complete with the school writing specialist. And the reason that's important is because the ISAT test is a written language test. Students read information, they respond to questions, and a lot of times those questions are where they need to respond into a full essay, and they type it out on computer. It's important that those students practice that same format so that when they sit down, they know what's happening. And this is a leading indicator because we are making sure that every day we're monitoring progress on daily writing skills and monitoring their progress toward those learning progressions at all times. Both leading indicator 3 and 4 have to do with constructing formative assessments. Now, a formative assessment means assessments that take place more than on a weekly basis. And it can be as easy as when you ask students to raise their hand if they understand and you quickly just count how many students that are. That's a type of formative assessment. If you have students do a thumbs up or thumbs down or maybe a thumb sideways, whether or not they understand a topic, that's a formative assessment. The reason this is a leading indicator is because we are sitting and planning proficiency progress of 5% increases, and we're reflecting on our scorecard every single 24-hour time frame. So it's important that we're monitoring that progress very carefully toward those leading indicators. Leading indicator 5 is important, and I indicate it twice on here for a reason, which is that one thing that we can control is teachers' professional development and getting more and more expertise with regards to instructional pieces that are really going to make a difference. It's important that they receive feedback throughout that instructional piece and making sure that they're making that progress and choosing good instructional strategies for students. Now, the reason that's important for fourth grade is because our data tells us that they struggle with that instruction. And so it's important that myself and the instructional coach get into those rooms each and every single day and provide feedback on their level of instruction and whether or not it matches the rigor that students need to have in order to be successful on those standards. And I put it again on this next picture because it's such a very important and key part of that process and a very important leading indicator that we're not going to go one day of instruction without providing feedback to that team to say, you are making success, you are making progress, students are making success and progress, and it has to do with those leading indicators that we've put into place. And then through it all, we have a compelling scorecard to make sure that we're making progress. To describe what you see in the picture right there, that is a visual display on a magnetic whiteboard. The little cards that you see are magnets, and on those are pictures of students' faces. Now, I've purposely blurred them out for this slideshow. At the top, though, are their standards that they need to learn. So you see on those black pieces of paper that are laminated, that is the standard that students need to learn in order to be successful on that ELA ISAT test. That's the fourth grade team, and what they're doing is they're determining student success and proficiency based on those leading indicators and moving those magnet cards along. So you can see groups of students who are successful, groups of students who are less successful, and meeting that WIG and making sure that our wildly important goal is being met and that we're monitoring that. Now, we monitor those weekly at a minimum, but we also make sure that we're taking a look at our lead measures and making sure that we are really identifying those that are giving the highest leverage points. One piece that I want to make sure that I convey is the importance of holding to it. Now, McChesney, Covey, and Hewling talk about that in one of the last pages of the book, which says, be a model for that success or focus on wildly important goals. As a leader, it's incredibly important to be that model at all times of what it means to stay focused. In the world of business, just like in the world of education, there are a lot of other fires to put out. There are a lot of other things that happen each and every day. But as a leader, it's important to stay focused on that WIG. Identifying high leverage lead measures, we may be changing lead measures along the way, and that's not bad as long as we stay focused on what's high leveraged and making sure that that team knows what's high leveraged and that they know how to discriminate between something that's going to give them the largest effect size. Creating a player's scorecard, you can see those are scorecards around that team. There's one per every grade level, and you can see them posted right behind them there. Those are scorecards that we use for grade level teams and we monitor each and every day. We schedule WIG sessions at least weekly and hold them. So those are those ones where we sit down, we take a look at student progress, we take a look at their progress toward WIG and how our instruction, our lead measures are really controlling that and giving us our high leverage lead measures. Well, at the end of my presentation, I just want to say a couple of last things, which is, as a leader at Meridian Elementary, as well as in education, there are connections between that and within business. And this is one of them, that identifying those WIGs, identifying the lead measures and the lag measures, and really holding to it and making sure that we're focused on one goal at a time is unbelievably important. It's important for me as a leader. It's important for those team of teachers you see in that picture right there. And it's very important for our students and for our parents, because that's exactly why we're there each and every single day, is for those students and for their learning. I appreciate your time with my presentation. Have an absolutely incredible rest of your learning experience in class.